It is quite summery. I shouldn't be wearing this jacket.
Well, you'll notice that I've switched to my summer jacket.
Yeah, that's very nice. I have to find a summer jacket.
I actually need to get another one. This one's getting a little worn, but I wear it as a trophy of my 6 hours spent on the Assassin's Crew team. Assassin's Creed team.
Well, it is the crew. I mean,
Assassin's Crew would be an awesome
Assassin's Crew would be a great shirt, actually.
Anyway, in honor of summer, we are drinking Aloha Series Cocoa Brown from Kona Brewery, which is a beer with flavored coconut.
Yeah,
toasted coconut.
I haven't tried, so I'm about to have my first sip, so cheers.
I've been drinking this all week.
Very, very nice. Excellent.
Yeah, the toasty coconut. Yeah.
Okay. So just to get this off, I am wearing a bicycle helmet today. That is mostly to protect myself in case my coworker decides to club me over the head during this review process. But it's also in honor of National Bike Week, and I care a lot about the environment. I was outside earlier today, and I did actually bike to work yesterday, and
Bike to work day.
Yeah, for bike to work day. So it's great to be out there. I did not bike to work today though, so this is really a case of do as I say, don't do as I do.
But you did drive your Prius to work.
I did, but I didn't. I got dropped off. I carpooled to work this morning, so that's slightly better. Yeah, exactly. So
I on the other end am still tooling around in my 1995 Acura Integra,
which it's an excellent. It is absolutely an excellent car. So fantastic. I used to drool over those back in 1995. So
you used to drool over a lot in 1995.
Probably. I was just drooling in general in 1995. All right, so we have a list of actual 7 games we're going to take a look at, some more in depth than others. And we're going to start off with looking at Super Daddy-O Free. And just because something says it's got super in the name does not actually mean that it's super.
Well, I think that once you show the game, it's
All right, here we are. So this is really fun. This is retro gaming, kind of retro. When you're more retro than the original game, then I think that you've out-retroed, Super Mario Brothers. This is kind of it,
Right.
And
that was really my objection to this title, right? Is that it is a Super Mario Brothers ripoff.
Kind of.
Homage,
yes, homage. Rip-off is such a strong word. But it's the question really is kind of, when I look at the game, is it 2 things. One, is it cool to have something that's really low res like this, and is it or would have been more cool had they actually updated the graphics, and is it actually fun? Mm-hmm. And is it at least as fun as the original or more?
Right.
And the answer in this case is no. I'd love to say it was. Now there are some nice things they've done. One thing you can notice is I can actually tap on the screen. I don't actually have to use the virtual buttons. Mm-hmm. That being said, the virtual buttons don't actually respond anyway to let the user know that they think they're being pressed, which would be really, really nice. But at least from you can see with that possession, I can control Daddy-O here by this, and I can make him jump. And it's not exactly the same as the original game. There's actually some new game elements. You can actually grab these blocks over here.
Right.
And you can actually use this, and that actually protects you also as you're running. So there's these little creatures
here.
At
night, do zombies come out?
I don't think so, but that was kind of cool to see a different game. So as I said, I would call it an homage, and it's obviously kind of a fun. It looks like a fun hobby project, and cool. I like to see fun hobby projects on Google Play.
And getting a little bit of extra gameplay, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what separates this from what we call a retro game. Okay. So if you look at the graphics, there's pieces of this are definitely feel like they were originally written for a 16-bit platform. But remember that 16-bit programmers and artists were actually pretty good. They did a lot with what they had. Mm-hmm. And if you look back here in the background, you see these kind of monochrome things, look like they were done in maybe like paintbrush or something. Mm-hmm. It's a far cry from the sort of things that you saw in, being made in deluxe paint, for instance. Absolutely. Where every pixel really counted, and there was a lot of care put into each piece of the background. So this is just a solid green. this is, you know, a little bit textured but not much, just 2 colors.
You know, they had 16 colors to work with. They used as much as they possibly could.
Oh yeah,
everywhere.
Huge amounts of dithering, error diffusion, just all done by hand, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful, painstaking work, and it required, you know, artists with kind of special skill, you know, to
Absolutely.
do. So, you know, I mean, and I think that's exactly you hit your head on the nose there. Also, just the fact that, you know, the graphics are different kind of retro resolutions all over. You've got a really retro looking tree. The mountains are actually higher resolution, and the whole thing feels fun, but it doesn't. It just feels like, you know, I didn't have time to actually write real graphics, so for my project, I've gone and done this. Now, that being said, the parallax scrolling is great. There's, you know, the game engine seems fine. You know, it's simply a question of artwork, and, you know, and of also, you know, in terms of tuning the game and making the game actually, you know, really fun. And I think that's, you know, that's a harder thing for me to talk about, you know, whether the game was fun. If this game looked like this and it just played amazingly and it felt really good and the physics felt really great as you're running and all that, I would have been more excited about it. But as it is, it's kind of fun to look at. It works. It runs.
I'll tell you what would happen if this game played amazingly well. Like, it was just a really, really fun game to play, and it's not terrible. I mean, it just needs polish, right? If it did play that well, you know what would happen is you would almost certainly find a set of artists that are willing to help you out.
Yeah,
with this sort of title.
This car is sort of this game is sort of like Ian's car. You know, except that Ian's car was actually awesome in 1995, while this game wouldn't have been awesome in 1995.
Right. So what you're saying is it's more like a 1995
Toyota Prius, actually. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if you tried to, like, if you took a Toyota Prius and tried to make it like it was made in 1995. I don't know. So, anyways, that analogy doesn't work at all. Let's go to the next game. So the next game on this list is actually, I'm going to switch one. Would be anyone in particular that you pull up?
Well, so I think we should talk about a few of the ones. So like Cash or Crash.
Yeah, Cash or Crash. I looked at this game, and honestly, I couldn't really bring myself to play it very much. I kind of never really figured the gameplay out. It's very, very, as far as I can tell, it's kind of pretty simple. You basically have you can see you actually are in the middle of a game here. It does nicely save your game state. Now, as far as I can tell here, I have $10, and I can do something like buy one potato here at these different prices, and then eventually the price will go up, hopefully. Oh, I just lost everything because the price went down to 0. So the key thing is to sort of follow the trends of the market to buy and sell. And I looked at it and was like, this is just not very interesting or compelling.
But it could be. It could be. You know, we have seen a lot of games that we thought were terrible. And it turns out that a lot of it is just in the fine-tuning and in the presentation. So, for instance, if you look right now, one of the top grossing games on Google Play is basically a web game. It just monetizes really well because it engages people with some very pretty artwork and a sort of addictive style of gameplay. Now, whether or not you can turn this into the addictive style of gameplay that would make it top grossing is sort of up in the air. I don't think we've really played it enough to. I think it definitely does need some tweaking. Yeah. But the main thing it needs is better presentation, especially presentation that sucks people in so that they want to keep playing even when they don't know how yet, and then teaches them how to play so that they can feel like they've progressed.
Yeah, and also I kind of looked at it and I didn't completely understand what these 4 columns were for. It looks like I buy at different tiers, and the goal is to get myself up into these higher tiers where I can make more and more money off of different lots. But there's also the ability to buy 10 of one lot. So it was unclear why you wouldn't just buy tons of this first column. Maybe there's less risk in the third column. It wasn't really clear to me why the game was set up this way. And
let's go ahead and move on because we do have a lot to get through. I think that in general, this game just needs to be a lot more self-explanatory and a lot more polished.
Yeah, you know, it is a simple game. But certainly people like it. So I mean, I think it's worth continuing on. But in terms of whether if the editorial board looked at this, they would be like,
well, yeah, they would actually come and kick our butts for.
Yeah, that's why we both have to be wearing. Both have to be wearing helmets, and it's not again.
The helmets will not protect you.
No, not at all.
No, they really won't.
All right,
give us just 1 second though for a quick technical break. So we do have a guest online named Bira, and I think we've been unable to discover which app he belongs to. Reto, have you had any?
Hello.
Hello, Bira. Is that how you say your name?
Excuse me?
Yeah. How do you say your name?
Bira.
Bida. Okay.
Bira.
See, this is exactly how far away our monitor is from us. I thought that was an R. Which game did you write?
Time to Rock. Tiny Little Racing. Time to Rock.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Why don't we go ahead and switch over to that?
Sure.
So, what can you tell us about this game?
Well, it was developed in around a year and in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on a project I have for a 3D game engine that I'm developing for more than 2 years already, and it gave me a lot of work. I worked a lot on it. I created everything from models to images to textures, and I'm aware that the thing that I must really fix right now is the sound and music.
Okay.
That's basically it, I think.
Well, I got to tell you, we actually saw Tiny Little Racing a couple of months ago because one of the guys that works on the merchandising team, picking which apps gets featured, actually mentioned it to us because he loves your game. So
nice. That's great.
Yeah, so there's a plus.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to have that kind of support.
So we might give you some more constructive feedback today, just because we know you're already kind of got an in.
Yeah. So now you said that you used your own game engine for this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I built it from scratch. I've been developing it for more than 4 years, maybe. It was a Java engine, and then I ported it to mobile.
Okay. That's really cool.
Awesome.
Now, is that just you, or do you have a team?
No, it's just me right now.
Wow.
I still have to make some money to pay more people to help me.
Sure.
At least, I don't know, make some partners.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, let's check this out.
So so let's help us walk through the game here. We're at the main menu. What would you suggest we do to start off to show off the game the most?
I don't know. Did you walk through the options? I think I need to.
So we got the career and free race.
Right.
Should we do a free race? That sounds.
So we want ultra level of detail.
Oh yeah. We want ultra level of detail, and we wanted a control type, right? That you mentioned.
For a
buttons
tablet,
together.
Put the buttons together because it will be easier to turn.
Buttons together, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that does help a lot.
All right.
I would actually say one thing would be really, really great is if you see that you're running on an extra large screen device like a tablet, it'd be kind of awesome to set up this config. That was actually one of my first comments was that having this config be sort of automatic, still allowing you to change is great because not everyone's going to agree on the same control scheme.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so easy to detect that it's an extra large display and
that's a great idea.
Yeah, so it'd be cool to do, and it's really, I mean, the way I would probably do it is I would just create a environment variable that got triggered if you detected either large or extra large, or in terms of Android now we're looking at the minimum screen width of 600, the SW600 variable, and you can trigger that off of actually something in the resource fork. So it's really, really easy to do, to just use the resources to do that. All right. Difficulty normal.
I love the word resource fork. I think it's been 10 or 15 years.
I know. You can tell that I'm an old Mac hack with all of that when I say resource fork.
Actually, I guessed when I saw the beard, but
yeah,
just
exactly.
confirmed it for me. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of the options and try a little free race. Maybe?
Absolutely. By the way, difficulty is 2 Fs. So
Yeah.
just letting you know.
You know, that's such a common thing, actually, especially with individual developers. If you can get somebody to just proofread all your text, especially if you're localizing to another language, that could really help.
So here we are. So is there a race that you like? I guess I have to go with this one because I haven't unlocked the other ones yet.
Right.
I suck. All right, here we are. Classy, normal. Let's see.
So this is cool. You got the rotating car view. It
Absolutely.
feels very professional.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, in general, I mean, obviously, you know, this game would be really helped by getting some artists on it. I mean, you did an amazing job for one guy.
Right.
I mean, it's just
no. Actually, there's a lot of things. In fact, I think there's really only one thing that's going to drive artists crazy, and that's the fact that you use Comic Sans as a font.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the only thing that'll drive artists crazy because I'm always impressed by what will drive artists crazy and what won't. I will say, by the way, that the control scheme here, when you have both the arrows next to each other on a tablet, is just so much more awesome. But the physics feel great, and the game is really fun. And what I really like about the game is the way you can actually bounce off the walls. So if you actually go through a kind of a crazy turn, you can actually bounce off the walls, and it's not in this particular level. It doesn't immediately kill you. You can actually kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah, as long as your point is the right
also,
way, which is cool. It's very arcadey and a lot of fun.
It's totally. And there's also there's also mines you can throw out at people. You know, I definitely on the fun factor of this game. Really, the only thing that in my mind that prevents this game from going on and being like one of the top titles is in terms of getting the art just up to the level of the standard that's out there, because it's honestly the game is really good. The sound is good. The models of the cars are actually quite good, especially when you see them at scale in the game. Oh, we just lost HDMI's. We'll go grab that. But what I really want to see is kind of the next level, especially when it comes to the background textures and stuff like that. Especially since there's so many good freely available when it comes to background textures. That's the easiest thing to go and get. In terms of being able to go out and purchase really inexpensive content for games.
That's true. Although it feels like you can always tell.
You can when people do that. That's again, it's one of those things where it's mixed, because when you mix art styles, it gets really obvious. But you're already mixing art styles here in terms of the way the textures and the cars look.
That's true. Yeah, and certainly the textures. So what's the conceit here? Is this like radio controlled model cars, or is it supposed to be full size cars?
Yeah, I think it's more like a mix of them. I must admit that I wasn't able to decide if I were going with remote controlled models or full size models. So it's kind of both, actually.
Yeah, they're kind of cartoony little cars, which is fun.
Right.
They're
and the track definitely feels like, I mean, you'd never see a real world track at scale that way, but it does look like the kind of thing that you might find, in I would assume, very expensive remote control facility.
Yeah, I want this remote control car track. That'd be awesome.
Right, because it looks like cobblestones, right?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Totally.
So yeah, I don't have as big of a problem with the background.
Well, it's mostly not the bottoms. It's mostly the mountains, the rocks around it, and the kind of the rest of the backdrop. The ground is different. It looks distinctly different than the cars, but I'd love to see a little more detail in the stuff around it.
The other thing that's going to make a big difference in a racing game like this is some actual contact shadows under the wheels. I mean, you're doing shadows, but just get the ambient occlusion on the road around the wheels, and then you'll really be able to tell how far off the ground it is.
Yeah.
Aside from what you can see, there are also like another 5 different environments. Each cup has different environments, so there are more environments on as long as you play on the carrier mode, and every carrier you play, you unlock another level and another car, so you can vary your play a little. On future cars, there are missiles also, and a different type of mine, So I try to vary a little the gameplay as the player is progressing through the game.
That sounds like a lot of. You know what this reminds me of? Racing Destruction Set. Do you ever play that?
No, I haven't.
You're probably a lot younger than us. It came out in 1986, 84?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it was in the mid '80s. Yeah, but it was very similar where you had a. These little tiny cars. You had they had a track construction.
It was the band The Cars, and it was Racing Destruction Set. That was the mid '80s right there.
That's true. It was all about and the Gary Newman song Cars.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it was all about cars back then. Even though the cars sucked.
That's
right
true.
About that
that's
time.
True.
Yeah.
So So I mean, since we have you as a developer, could you talk? I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. When you went to test this and bring this to Google Play, what devices did you have to test it on?
Well, I have 5 devices. I have a 2.1 Android device, a tablet. I don't know. I don't remember the model.
Froyo tablet.
Nice. A Eclair tablet, actually. That's
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's. I know. We never actually made any of those in terms.
Right, we don't actually call them tablets. We call them big phones.
Yeah, when they're $2. And what else did you have?
I have 5 models. Can I say the name of the models here?
Sure. Yeah.
Sonic X10, Galaxy X2, and a Galaxy Tab 10 inches. Those are the base models that I test on because they have different OS versions. But
they also
only those.
Yeah, they also have different GPUs, which is nice too.
Yeah.
You're actually getting a nice variety. The Xperia has a Qualcomm Adreno-based GPU. The S2, of course, is the ARM Mali, most likely. Was the other one that was there?
So he had the Sony S, and then he said the Eclair tablet.
And then there was
what
one.
Model
There
is
were 5, right? I'm trying to remember what the 5th.
He didn't mention 5.
I don't know
4.
if you know it. It's an Arcos, I think.
Yeah. Most of those, I think. I can't remember. They used a variety of chips. A bunch of them were OMAP based, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was PVR. I think that's an OMAP 3 device. I think. But that's just off the top
we don't
of
actually know which of the Galaxy S2s had Mollies.
Almost all of them, except for I think there's a couple in the U.S. mostly, and a couple in Russia. But I don't know about down. Where are you located?
I'm located in Brazil.
In Brazil, that's what I thought. I'm not sure about the Brazilian. I think the Brazilian models were all on Mali as well. But where in Brazil are you?
I am in Curitiba.
Oh, Curitiba.
It's, south.
Awesome. Well, we've got to continue on to the rest of the games, but thanks so much for coming on. And is there any kind of wisdom you'd want to impart to other developers? Kind of something that you got stuck on that that you'd say, hey, this was something I would definitely do or not do.
Well, I think one of my biggest problems is memory management because. When you are working with 3D and trying to make the quality of the textures look as better as the best as possible, you try to use a lot of memory. And since you have that many devices and you're trying to be as much backward compatible as you can, I think memory management and knowing how to load the textures and in which resolution to load the texture is very important.
Absolutely.
Especially for games.
Did you experiment at all with using texture compression?
I need to check that. I think my textures are compressed. I'm not sure. I use the OpenGL too.
Yeah, because basically most devices, if you're using textures that don't have alpha, and it looks like a bunch of yours don't, most of the devices will support ETC1 texture compression, and that actually allows you to reduce the amount of memory in video memory that the texture is going to take.
But if I recall, the Samsung Galaxy S2 doesn't support that.
No, it does. It does. It
Okay.
does. Yeah, it supports.
So I'm gonna check on that.
Yeah, so that might be something to look at to help you to optimize memory a little bit, and it also will give you a little boost in fill rate, because it also reduces, since it decompresses as it fills, it reduces the size of the copy of the texture, so it actually gives you a little boost in fill rate too. So it's worth looking into, especially if you have a bunch of textures that don't have alpha built into them.
So what was I thinking? It's that it doesn't support anything but ETC1. Right.
So there are other formats too, like DXTC that are supported in PVR, TC that are supported in individual chips. But if you have a texture that looks good in ETC1 and pretty much anything that doesn't have radical changes in color, like if it has text built into the texture, ETC1 will compress it very well. But if it's like your background texture for the ground, that looks to me like it would compress with very, very little loss in quality into ETC1. So that's why I was suggesting that. Anyways, it's great talking to you. It's awesome to see what you've done. That's an amazing project for a single person project. My hat would go off to you, except that it's chained to my head with this strap. So let's move on to the next game. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you.
So the next game I want to look at is this is a game called Mac Hunter, and this actually also comes from Brazil, from Dion Game Studios, and
we looked at another Dion title a couple weeks ago. It was Asteroid Defense.
Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Which I found to be utterly addictive.
Yeah, Dion makes great games. So this game, it uses accelerometer for play. And it looks just great on tablets. You can see here that it's just awesome looking. Like, the graphics are really high resolution. If those of you who are watching this in HD, you'll really get to see kind of what this is looking like. And the interface is very intuitive, it's getting 60 frames per second here on my Transformer Prime. Now, but you'll notice that as I turn the tablet to try to make him swing, it actually doesn't work. And the reason why is that this tablet is a landscape default device. And the way the accelerometer in Android works is it actually gives you coordinates that are based upon the default orientation of the device. So, as a game developer, what you actually need to do is translate. And there's actually functions that are built into the SDK to help you out with this. But this may shock you. I'm actually going to refer you to the NVIDIA website, because they actually have the best article on how to take these accelerometer coordinates, which are either going to be based on portrait or landscape, depending on the default orientation, and turn them into a general solution that will work across all devices without you having to care about the orientation.
It turns out that it's simpler than most people think, and in fact where most people go wrong is trying to find out too much of about the device and trying to be too clever.
Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm actually playing this with the tablet in the wrong orientation. And the reason, by the way, I know this isn't the correct orientation of the game is I also did try this on my phone, and the phone, it actually worked in a much more intuitive way. So this is actually one of the few things. It doesn't really matter whether it's a phone or a tablet. It matters what the default orientation is. Most phones are default portrait. Most tablets are default landscape, but that's not necessarily true.
Sure, you can find some of the, for instance, some of the sliding keyboard phones are default landscape.
So that being said, the game is really fun. It's quite. I really like the accelerometer control, and as you can see, the graphic style is really, really high res and sharp, and it looks great against this background. I mean, this is yet another I would say hit from the guys over at Dion. This is a great effort here, and certainly something we'd like to look at. The only other thing I wanted to comment on was when I completed the level, the back key actually doesn't work. And while during the game and during the rest of the game, the back key does something everywhere, here all of a sudden I hit back and nothing happens. And obviously, since going to the next level automatically wouldn't make sense, hitting in here really should just take me back to the menu. And without that, the navigation would be basically right. As I said, in the rest of the game, it does work normally. If I hit back here on the home key, it actually takes me back out to the desktop. So it's been done well. But the thing is that we really want to make sure that whenever the user presses that key, it does something that makes sense. So not something like exit the game without telling the user anything, but something like taking the user back in the stack. So it's something to definitely have your QA team go through the game, look at. This is something that our QA, when they're looking at final featuring cycle. So when it's gone through everything and they're just checking to make sure things are all working right, because we always want to make sure things are looking really good before the team features them. They're going to look at this, they're going to find this, they're going to say, hey, developer, you need to fix this. So that's just an early heads up. Go through your titles, make sure that in every single part of the game, make sure the back key does something well. Even if it works in 90% of the cases, if there's that 1% where it doesn't work, that's a huge deal. So basically, the two things to focus on here are definitely in my, that I noticed are our accelerometer and the back key. And we should also go through these little icons here at the bottom, which I certainly recommend. And so we got Blender. By the way, I love people who use Blender. I'm a huge Blender fan, so props there, guys. We actually have the Facebook page here. Real basic stuff. Go back.
Which as always, we recommend that you use the Android share intent, which will hit Facebook, it'll hit Twitter, it'll hit Google Plus. Whatever next year brings in terms of hot social networks, it will hit that too. So you really want to use the share intent so you don't miss out on it.
And this is really nice, actually. This feedback, that the fact that it does pop me up into anything that'll take text. Now, admittedly, it'd probably be better to do something slightly more tuned towards mail. But
I think
that's cool.
if I typed into docs my feedback, not sure what would happen actually.
But in any case, overall, I say thumbs up. As I said, the accelerometer is the biggest thing. That's the most important thing. Second thing would be navigation. And the third thing would be make sure to use our standard share. If you want to make a custom share for something else, that's cool. But at least make sure our standard sharing is there, because then you end up supporting any social network, any mechanism from text to email that happens to support those intents. And I'd love to see, with a game like this, it'd be cool to do stuff like screenshots and stuff like that. The game is just so fun and goofy, and I just love what you guys have done with the art style. So
absolutely. Well, the art style, I just want to make one comment, which is it seems really nice. That the art itself is really nice. But what did you think about the animations? I thought they were a little wooden.
A little bit. I mean, I was overall happy. I thought they were there. I thought they were kind of over the top in a cool way.
So sort of intentional.
Yeah,
because a lot of times we talk about stuff that took an hour to do in Illustrator, and obviously this isn't.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it had to do. It has to do with
you
basically
have two moving parts, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I would love to see more animation beyond the tail.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to have have his legs and arms swinging around as well. Said I love the art. I agree with Ian. The animation could definitely be there. It'd be cool to have some different segments of him, especially since the fluid, and also it'd be cool to have the vines doing kind of more natural swinging too. If you're going to actually do vines, these look like poles.
Right. It looks very, very stiff. And here's the thing. This isn't just about polish or our personal feelings about animations. Mm-hmm. We see that games with recognizable characters tend to do better if the user can sympathize with them.
Yeah.
So you can't sympathize with something that looks like a static picture with a piece of rope tied on his ass. You can't.
No, and actually, I would even go farther to say that what would be really cool is if he's hanging like this, I'd love to see him do an animation saying, "Hey, dude, I'm impatient. I want to swing next, swing next." There's so much work that's been done on these backgrounds. Having that character, who's already an awesome-looking character, be just that much more animated and alive, make him feel like he's alive. So I think that would be the way to take this to the next level. I totally agree. 100 good comment there. That's a really important point. So the only other thing I would say is when we go, I'll show you one other little thing here, which is a minor pet peeve, but I might as well just talk about it since I really like this game. So I go to the home screen and I go back into Mac Hunter, and so I'm here and it says OK. Now the problem is that I don't know where I came from here, so I didn't bring up this dialogue. So the fact that I'm saying that it says OK is kind of confusing. I would much rather it say resume. I would much rather, to let me know that I'm going back into the game and immediately swinging. That would be the only other nitpicky comment I have, in terms of that. But otherwise, great. What's also about putting up that kind of dialogue when the game is backgrounded is not only does it pause things and keep things out of the way, but it also guarantees that you won't ever play music on the lock screen.
Exactly.
It just kind of avoids the whole problem. So for a game that's got real-time action like this, it's really popping that up is great. But again, the fact that it says OK is kind of wacky. So I would definitely have it say resume. So that's
All
pretty
right.
much it.
Time for the lightning round.
Time for the lightning round. All right.
So next 3 games in 30 seconds or less.
Okay, let's go to Draw and Guess. So Draw and Guess is one of these games that is actually a pretty cool idea. It takes a lot of the mechanics from something like draw something, and it makes it into this social room game where you have a whole bunch of people who are trying to figure out what someone is drawing fastest. And so, and I'm hoping this isn't going to be something objectionable. There are occasional times where the words lead people to draw things that are more objectionable than others. And so we're kind of with a live production. That looks to me like a cigarette. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go for cigarette there.
Cigarette,
or a French fry dipped in mustard and ketchup.
It could be. Cigarette. Nope, doesn't look like it's a cigarette. Everyone seems to agree with me. I hope this is something phallic. All right, so the probably being cigar.
Okay, we do have some sort of issue with the there. Yeah, you should probably keep this on the table. I think this connector isn't super steady.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys, for losing that. All right, so when people try to draw stuff, Ziggy. Oh, it's a Ziggy. Ziggurat. Oh my God. So
so now I just want to. I do want to let our audience know that ziggurats and cigarettes are totally not actually the same thing.
That's rough. See, people playing all over the world here. So there's a lot of things actually in this game that are pretty cool. Now what I should do is say the drawer used text, and so the game encourages you to write down someone who just draws with text. But this person actually also tried to draw it. But it's one of those things where that's what the game encourages, is just to be sort of self.
Well, and they tried to do the charade thing, -C plus Z.
Yeah, they did.
My guess is they don't actually know what a ziggurat is.
I'm sure they don't. So I'm not surprised.
Not exactly common knowledge.
So
we know, of course, because we went to college.
No, because we're Google, we know everything.
Right. Well, yeah.
Exactly. So I would see. So the thing is, you can always Google it next door, right? Find out what a ziggurat is.
You're not actually supposed to tell people about the brain implants.
Oh, sorry. The Project X. So in any case, and actually the main menu here looks pretty good on tablets. But the game itself definitely could use some upgrades for tablets. One of the things that's kind of confusing when you're developing a game or any application using the standard Android framework for a tablet is these devices show up as being an MDPI device. Mm-hmm. And that means that the default behavior is to allow the user to see a lot more information on the screen, and it also accurately represents the density, the pixel density of the device. The problem is that what that means in this case is that the icons are really, really small. Mm-hmm. You can see on that left and right side, they're almost unpressable. On a phone, they'd be small, but on a tablet, they're ludicrously small. So this is where it really makes sense to actually have resources that are dynamically sized based upon the screen size rather than just based upon the density. Because this is just a layout that's expanded out very, very large from a phone version. That being said, I've certainly seen a lot worse. I think some guy's like, "Go draw something, please." So, whoa, okay, let's take that off. So, so in any case, as I said, the one problem you have with this sort of title is that you do have user-generated content.
It's the chat roulette of draw something.
It is absolutely. The good news is that drawing tools aren't very high-res, so I'd like to see it really get some more tablet love. But overall, a creative game, a fun game. One thing that it does do, which is things to note about it. Just force focus on tablet. Let's go to the next one because we've got more to do here.
Yeah, this is a lightning round.
It is a lightning round. I know. So let's go to X-Fleet. Now, X-Fleet made me really, really sad because it's actually not officially available on the Transformer Prime here. It is actually officially eliminated from the Google Play Marketplace, but it plays just fine. And I tried it on 2 different devices just to compare, and there was no reason why it shouldn't be on this device. So guys, eliminate that, put it on the device. One thing you'll notice on tablets is that if you have a dialogue that's full screen on a tablet like this, it looks kind of ridiculous.
It looks weird.
It's hard to see it on the screen here, but this is like an absolute first a first glance of why it makes sense on a tablet if you have a dialogue with just 3 things like this to actually turn it into a dialogue. You know, just having it. You know, don't make sure it never gets incredibly large like this. But that being said, it's certainly workable. No one's going to say don't feature it because it has a giant dialogue like that. But it'd be nice. In the game itself, what I really wanted was actually the game to be more fun. And I think I understand what's going on, is that I think that if I upgrade my weapons to an exceptional point, the game is going to get more fun. So this is actually kind of cool. This is actually, we're in this position of not fighting. You can actually talk to people. This is sort of it actually has a really cool story built into it. There's a planet. You actually, it's a little confusing the first time you play the game that you realize you actually have to hit the go button, and this takes you to a dialogue, which then allows you to select a planet to fly to.
I would just say, you know, for this dialogue, it would be nice to see that skinned.
Yeah, it's a little skinned already, but it'd be nice to see it kind of more skinned.
You're right. The angle on it's not too. Yeah, so you're right. It is a little skinned, but still, there's a lot of the just standard system dialogue.
Well, the other thing is there's really no reason to me why it really needs to be a dialogue. Like I really want to have like Venus, Mars, blah, these destinations just appear and be available at the top of the screen or something like that. I think it'd be a lot easier to understand. The control scheme's pretty good. It's kind of the classic control scheme for these kind of shooter games. The frame rate could be a little bit higher, and I don't really, I don't have advice on how to fix that for this particular title because I don't really know how it was constructed, whether this was just designed to run at this frame rate or not. This is the rate it ran on both the Galaxy Nexus and on this device. The main problem I have with it is that the levels are actually quite long. And grinding, and I can see, the goal is to make it so you grind through these things, and it takes a really long time to grind through them so you can finally get your weapon so you could actually get to the next level. But my problem with it was that it was just not very fun with this gun that fires kind of slowly and singly, and, it takes a lot of time to take things out.
Yeah, what are the awesome power-ups I can pick up?
Well, they're all things there's nothing you can pick up. You can do this, which is an overload thing, which gives you the ability to temporarily improve your firepower. Which is kind of cool. You'll see it's running down now, and then you'll end up back with a single shot. But which helps a lot. But there's definitely a feeling of like, wow, it's going to take me forever to get to the point where my weapons are fun enough, or I'm going to buy something. And so I think there's got to be a balance. My feeling was it wasn't quite compelling enough to start off with. I kind of wanted a little bit more fun. Maybe the weapons be a little bit weaker but fire a little faster, something like that. I would play with the balance there.
Or maybe just give me an extra weapon to whet my appetite so that I can kind of see why I would want to buy something.
Dude, you blew my ship off. I lost 793 credits.
Sorry, man.
That's all right.
It's a risk you take.
It is.
I can't get to you through the bike helmet. I get some other way.
So here's an example of something that actually you've got to be very careful with. So, we always say make sure the back key does something. So this developer, when the back key hits, it pops up this dialogue. Except there's no way to leave still. So this would not pass the process because they'd say, well, there's no way to exit. Back should at least lead me to something. If it doesn't actually allow me to exit, it should lead me to something that suggests that I can exit.
Yeah, we're fine with popping up an interstitial so that you don't accidentally leave an action scene without being able to get right back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the intent of the back button is not just to pop up a menu. The intent of the back button is to let you go back.
Yeah, and so that's a good example there of what not to do. The next game we're going to look at is Word Drop. It's our final game of the afternoon. And Word Drop is actually really fun. But I'll go through a couple of things I noticed when I was looking at it. One is that it actually integrates score loop, and that's not too much of a problem. Except that I kept ending up crashing when I loaded up the score loop dialogues. It may be that they don't like ice cream sandwich. There might be some other reason. I didn't have time to actually investigate what was going on. But you've got to be careful if you're integrating a third-party library. You've always got to make sure to be checking these things out. And for me, it just was an insta crash on all of that.
And remember, we've actually gotten a lot of questions about this, and we've asked the policy team, we've asked the merchandising team, and everyone's feeling is, people will say, hey, my game is great, it's just this middleware that is screwing up. Well, the truth is you you chose to put that middleware in there.
Yeah.
You are responsible for all the aspects of your title. So if you violate policy or fall short of our featuring guidelines in any way, even if it's not your fault personally, it reflects on your game.
Yeah, if this is middleware you've chosen to put in, whether it's an ad company that was running ads that violate our guidelines, or a in this case a part of it that crashes or forces you to put a vestigial menu button. Now, one thing that's cool about this is you notice there is no vestigial menu button here down at the bottom of the screen, which is great.
No buttons of shame. That's
no
awesome.
buttons of shame. And the modes of the game are fun. They're pretty close. And what's cool is you can actually resume individually between Panic, Puzzle, Time, and Puzzle Extreme.
Oh, cool.
So it actually is pretty cool that way. I would actually like to see some indication that I have a game in process there on the main screen. And as you see, I've been playing this game a lot. So
what's the game about?
So basically, your goal is to make words. So I can make different words. Din, sin, something like that. And
you are huge on word games, are you? That is your passion.
It is. I wouldn't say it's a passion, but I really, really like them. And I'm gonna die here pretty quickly in this. But I can actually save and quit, so I can go back and continue playing that later. So overall, I really liked it. I mean, I actually thought it was a really, really cool game. You can, I wanted a little bit more. There's a kind of a general rank with you in the rest of the world, but I think it'd be kind of cool to even make it a little more competitive. I'd love to see like a head-to-head competition mode where you both were trying to make words out of the same letter drops at the same time, and you'd kind of watch what was going on. Like it'd be fun. I mean, I just love to see it go to the next level. But it's a good game. It's a well done game. It runs well here. The one thing that it does do when you quit, it pops you up an interstitial when you exit. Mm-hmm. And I would say, dude, I'm trying to exit the app. It's one thing to do it after I play, but after actually exiting, and I'll show you. It's please support by completing free offers. At least it doesn't pop you straight there into it, which would be really obnoxious. But generally, the concept of I'm trying to exit with the back key, so I'm actually closing you. It also will sometimes ask you to rate the game, and it is cool. It lets you know that if you find problems, But as my general feeling is, putting those up on back is really not the place to put them. Partially because the user can always hit home and get straight to home. So it's really just a question of how they're exiting. In general, when they hit back, unless you're in the middle of a game, mm-hmm. it should just take you back.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree, because like you said, the user can always hit home. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, this is exactly what Xbox Live Arcade did for all of its trial mode.
Yeah.
I think you got to decide.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's intensely annoying. And when I get annoyed by something, I'm less likely to pay money for it. Mm-hmm. I'm more likely to go find something else.
Yeah.
So it may be counterproductive. On the other hand, if it works for you, like you said, you can always get out of it.
Yeah. I mean, what our featuring committee would say about that, I don't know, because it does violate our navigation to actually go and actually exit. So just remember, for people who didn't catch the beginning of the broadcast, I am wearing the helmet because it is National Bike Week here in the United States, and we did a Bike to Work Day yesterday. I actually did Bike to Work yesterday, and that's why I'm hardly walking today. And so I did not bike to work today, but I decided to put the helmet on just to kind of show my support for biking and for alternative forms of transportation. Being a hippie living up here in
and also
California.
Dan is sanctimonious.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm better than you. So, in any case. Except I'm not, because I'll tell you, I got creamed on the road by the people who actually bike on a regular basis. Like, I'd be there and be like, yeah, pumping along. Some guy comes by, wearing the skin-tight bicycle outfit. So, the only other thing I'd note about this game is that at this particular resolution, the buttons on the home screen actually all have a bit of an error on the right-hand side. So you can see there's this line that just shows up.
Yep.
So it looks like there's some minor offset there of either text that's in the graphic or I don't know. I'm not sure what's causing
right
that.
Along the side
right along that edge. It's hard to see, but probably when you're online, unless you're watching this in high definition. But really a very, very promising game. It's a nice spin on the word drop. As I said, what I'd love to see what I want to see is word drop plus with like all sorts of cool multiplayer stuff. I think that's kind of what it's missing, and I'd love to see like random competitive multiplayer, ghost multiplayer, all that kind of stuff would be really, really cool. I think it would take it to the next level. But congratulations, guys. Well done.
Yep. Well, thanks a lot for joining us. Remember, we do this every week, and if we find games that we like, we nominate them into the Google Play featuring process. Now, we don't have control over whether they get accepted or not, but what you will find is that once we nominate you, you'll get some interesting feedback from the Google Play featuring team and the editorial board, and that'll often help your game be better. And we'll be sending out some more feedback for several of the developers that we looked at today. If you'd like to have your game appear on this show, just go to our moderator. We post the link every week. There is, on the left-hand side, a category called Friday Games Review. And if you suggest your app in there and people like it and they vote for it, then there's a really good chance that we'll take a look at it.
And if you're a regular watcher of this show, I definitely recommend looking at some of the blog posts we've done on what game developers should know. Because a lot of the stuff we go through in the Friday review comes right off of those two blog posts. Hopefully we'll do more in the future, talking about the kinds of things really the featuring committee looks at as they're trying to make sure that all of the applications and games that are featured on Google Play really have the same kind of quality bar, really navigate in a way that feels like they're as native as possible. And ultimately that's really the goal here, is that if you're playing a game on Android, it just feels like the game was meant for your device. And whenever you kind of get into the position of, this just doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And so I definitely recommend reading through those and making sure that when you submit something to our Friday review process, that you've gone through it so that we're not finding the same things. I love being able to dig a little deeper and find cooler and better stuff to talk about. And there's a lot of fun stuff this week. Accelerometer is definitely one of those things that is tricky if you haven't done it before on Android, because it is, again, based on the default orientation. If you only have a phone device, you're probably not going to see what happens with the landscape orientation. And unfortunately, it's not something we support directly in the emulator. So, but that's it. I think that's it for us for this Friday.
Yep.
Have a great weekend. Be well.
And have a great time playing games. We will see you next time. Same time, same place. Nope, different place.
Different place. This is actually our final broadcast, we believe, unless the move doesn't go well.
We will see. But
yeah.
But sometime in the next week or two, we will be broadcasting from the former office of Andy Rubin.
Yeah, and Andy has generously donated his former office to these broadcasts, and I kind of hope we could find some of his former old collection of alcohol.
Indeed, I am not sure if he has donated his former Scotch collection, which I think was valued at $2,000 or $3,000 for the 5 bottles that were there.
you think that little?
We'll
it was it's a really great show of support for what we're doing here. Thanks to all of you for watching out there, and we're going to try to make sure that the show just gets better and better every week. Please continue giving us feedback, letting us know what you think, and please keep nominating, and please keep writing great games. And if you want to appear on the program, just let us know. We post the list the night before, and you can get on the program and talk with us.
Your feedback does matter. You'll notice that last week, we got a lot of feedback about how the show was fairly long and it was difficult to find what you were looking for if you were just looking for a single app. We have placed captions throughout the show, so hopefully that helps. We look at every piece of feedback we get, so please let us know what we can do better. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next time.